Hello, I'm Mel, I'm a baby brain consultant, and what I'm going to do in this video is give you an overview of buccal carriers. So, buccal carriers are quite complex. There are so many brands, so many types of carriers out there. It can be a little bit overwhelming trying to choose one. So what I'm going to do in this video is try to explain the differences between them and give you an idea of what's out there. But the most important thing before buying a carrier is to go and try someone, and it's very, very, very important. Carriers are very much like shoes. Not everybody like the same type, and they don't always fit all body shapes. Most of them fit everybody, but some don't. The second thing to remember is that they don't always fit babies at birth. Regardless of what it might say on the box, it doesn't always fit. You have to see with your baby, see if it fits, see if it gives a good positioning. And if positioning is good, the fit is good, then it's safe. If it isn't, then it is not safe. So it's very important to get some information and also get some help. So always go to your nearest sling library and get some support. So what I'm going to do is go through differences, and then we'll take it from there, okay? So, main differences between carriers. Some are what we call non-adaptable, which means that they are one size, especially at the base. So the base is one size. If you look at this one, is the Ergo Baby 360 O position. And because it is so wide at the base, you can't really fit a small baby in there. Therefore, you need to use a cushion insert, which is pretty big. So it comes in two parts. You have to use the whole thing at the beginning. And basically what you do is that you stick the cushion here at the base, so that makes it a little bit smaller. And also the baby's higher up in the carrier. In all pure honesty, it's always a little bit awkward to get good positioning. So if you take this baby, for instance, this is roughly how they sit. This is roughly 3 months old, so the fit is not too bad. But if you were to go for a newborn, it's quite difficult to get good fit. Eventually, you don't need the cushion anymore, so you can sit the baby straight into the carrier, which makes it a bit more snug. You have adaptable carriers, so this is what most brands are moving towards too. So things that are one size, you'll see them less and less nowadays. So Ergo has got lots of different models. This is the Ergo Omni Breeze 360, and you see inside got these Velcro tabs here. So for a small baby, start on the smaller setting, roughly like that. And as your baby grows, you make it wider and wider. So this one's got 3 settings. Some have got just 2 settings. And some are what we call micro adjustable. So it grows really, really gradually with the baby. Quick example, Zen Sling from Mama Ruga. It's nice because pretty much it always fits, okay? So if you look at the base, you can make it super small, and then as the baby grows, it grows in width. The Boba X is very similar in that sense. Again, you have these adjustments inside. You just make it very small at the beginning, and then gradually make it wider. When you reach here, it's got little seat extenders. So what we want in any sling, any carrier, is to always support the baby what we call from knee to knee. So pretty much just like when you carry a baby on your front, when you're holding them, you carry them pretty much like that. And that's how they just naturally sit. So when you pick up your baby, you see they lift the knees. It's actually an evolutionary reflex. It's really interesting. So this is what we want to support the baby from here to here. And what we really don't want to do is overspread the hips, especially with tiny newborns. The hips are very tight, so they can go through the birth canal. So we don't want to do that. So we want to always respect the baby's natural positioning. And what we want is bum lower than the knees in what we call the M-shaped positioning. So it looks like an M. This promotes healthy hip development. It also means the spine remain in its neutral position, so they can support their head and they can support the airways a lot more easily. And it's really comfy for them, but also for you, because it helps you support the weight more easily. So this is what we want. And if you have an adaptable carrier, usually it's just a lot easier to preserve this natural positioning. What you want to try and avoid, although it's not the end of the world if you have one, is what we call narrow base carrier. So these are carriers where the base is very small here. So it may support baby from knee to knee when they're super tiny, but really quickly they're going to grow, and then this will be too narrow, meaning the legs will hang a lot more. So instead of sitting like this, eventually they grow, and then the legs end up hanging like this. Okay, so it's not optimum positioning, it's not super comfortable. It does put a lot of pressure on the groin area, and compared to this where it's the bum that's taking the weight and there's no pressure. So it's not damaging to the baby. It's a bit of a misconception, but I would avoid it because it's not super comfy. For you, it pulls all the way down. We always want to support knee to knee, even if you're carrying a 3-4-year-old, you want to keep doing that. Also, the back is a bit more straight, it's a bit harder to support the head. Unless your baby's born with a hip condition, it's not damaging, but you want to just have something a bit nicer, a bit more supportive. Other ways that they differ, lots and lots of ways. In terms of the shoulder straps, you have some that have pretty thick padded shoulder straps. So this is the Ergo Omni 360. It's quite big on the shoulders, okay? Which means that if you're somebody who's got quite narrow shoulders, it might not sit nicely. Some have padding, but a little bit wider. So this is the Beko Gemini, for instance. It's a bit wider, still a bit of padding. And some have no padding. So if you look at, again, the Zen sling, you can even spread the shoulders if you wanted to. Is me similar. You can spread out the shoulders, so you can distribute the weight a bit more. What you like is personal, and there is just no one that is better than another. In fact, there is no carrier that's better than another. It's really about what you like, what you find comfortable, what your baby's happy with, and has all the functionalities you want it to have. Other ways that differ is that some can be crossed at the back, some can be straight, and some can be both. Some carriers you can't cross straps because they are sewn in place. If you look at all the carriers from Tula, another brand, padded shoulders, and here it is sewn here. Therefore, I can't unclip. If I can't unclip, I can't cross the straps. So for some people it's fine. For some people, they like the option of being able to cross. If you can cross straps, you can also put baby on a hip, and I will demo all of that in a minute with the carrier to give you an idea. So it's always something to bear in mind. It's nice to have both options, but again, it's your choice. And then other ways that they differ in terms of how heavy and how bulky they are, there's a huge amount of difference. So some are very, very bulky and quite heavy. So again, if we take this one, this is the bulkiest that I have. It is quite heavy, okay? It's got a very big waist belt, and it's got integrated lumbar support. Some people like to have a bit more support here. Again, super, super personal. Some people are really happy with just webbing at the waist belt. So to you. This one has got a lot of structure. It's got buttons here to allow facing out if you want to do that from around 5 months, and it's quite shaped, which means that it feels quite big on the body. Carriers like that, sometimes it takes a while before a small baby can fit in there. Okay, so something to bear in mind. If you are going to buy a carrier, somebody's bought you one before your baby arrives, or somebody give you one, don't expect it to fit. You need sometimes to wait a little bit, okay? More lightweight carriers, smaller carriers often fit small babies a lot better. So this one, for instance, sling, is very, very adaptable. So the base again, but also the height, we can make the panel fit. So that's always the right height. And it's just, it's not as bulky. It shapes and molds to the body. In fact, it's made from stretchy wrap material. So it gives you that nice little snug fit. Other ones like Go Embrace, again, a very lightweight small carrier. Pretty much designed for small babies. Babies do grow out of this one a bit quicker than other carriers. And it's one of the few carriers you can't back carry. But again, super lightweight, so it will give more babies a better fit. In terms of the straps and how they adjust, some you can only pull forward to tighten, some you can only pull back, and some you have both options. So it's called what we call dual adjust. You can pull forward or back. So you have to consider your mobility a little bit. If you find it difficult to do this kind of movement, then maybe being able to pull forward would be easier for you. So in this one, we have dual adjust. So when I tighten, I can go pop or pull back. Again, personal preference. And some are really different. So this is with a wild card, for instance, is the Marsupi. And there's no clips, there's no tightening systems. You just have Velcro. So you put it on and then you just Velcro yourself in. So people who find it difficult to clip or are quite anxious about it, sometimes something like Velcro works really nicely for them. So something else to consider. Right, what else? So many different ways to differ. In terms of how hot they feel, so you can get some that are made of mesh. So if you take the Beko Gemini, also come as the Beko Gemini Cool. Just this one. So see, you've got this mesh, makes it quite breathable, so you get a little bit more airflow, a bit less heavy on the body as well. So these are great all year round, but especially in the summer when it's super hot, this feels a little bit more cool than the one that is in a full fabric. Ergo Baby Omni Breeze, this one comes either as mesh or non-mesh. So for a lot of carriers, they sell them as two versions. So you have to think when your baby's due, the weather, what it's going to be like. So something to always consider as well. And then the big question before you buy a carrier is, do you want to have the facing out option or not? And this is quite something you need to really think about before you go fork out £175 or something like that, and then you realize that you can't carry a baby facing the world if you want to do this. So not all carriers can be used in this position. All carriers can be used on the front, the majority on the back, and some on the hip if you can cross the straps. If you decide you want to carry your baby facing out, you will need a carrier that offers that. So if you Go Breeze 360, the 360 position but non-adaptable. Chila Explore, this one, the Beko, and also Beko and the Beko Gemini. The brand makes facing out carriers. So the way you face out is by bringing the poppers in the middle, so it makes the base narrower for this one. For others, you have to use button systems. We put them in the middle, and some have got sliders, so facing you and then facing out. And the reason for all of that is that when you want to turn baby around, You don't want them to sit in a split. So you want to narrow the base, but at an angle like this, so that the legs don't end up in a split, but you still try to preserve the M-shaped positioning as much as possible. You want to avoid, again, completely dangling leg because it pulls on more on your body. So facing out, lots of consideration. Have a read of my blog, do some research before you do it. Quick recommendation, not until 5 months, when baby has got full head control, and developmentally it's okay for them to look around without seeing the parent for a short amount of time. In terms of the positioning, it's not super ergonomic, okay? It's okay, but it's not absolutely amazing. The legs will always be a bit more down like that. In terms of how our bodies are shaped, we're not really designed to carry like this. We put a little bit of pressure on the spine, but nothing damaging. For you, it shifts all the weight forward. So if you have any pre-existing back problem, anything like that, it might just make it worse. So it's really something you need to think about. And if you want to do it, try quite a few carriers, because there are lots of carriers out there that offer facing out, but it's really worth trying to see how it feels when the baby's carried in that way. In terms of safety, we don't let baby fall asleep like this, because chin and chest will touch like this and they can stop breathing. So very important to turn baby around if they fall asleep. If they cry, again, you turn them facing you, because sometimes they can become a bit overwhelmed. Some babies become very addicted to it, so you've been warned, you have to take the risk. So, and then they don't want to be carried facing you, okay? And some babies just don't like it. Because of all of that, and to avoid overstimulation, we recommend 20 to 30 minutes at a time, and then you turn baby back facing you. The idea of facing out is to offer baby some more visibility. In reality, it's totally fine to have them on your front. They can see stuff. You can make adjustments as they get bigger. They can even get an arm out over the panel, 2 arms out. They can stay on the side, they can turn their heads. And what you can also do is do a hip carry. So if you can cross strap, you can go to the hip, baby can see almost as much. From 6 months, you can start back carrying. I would say wait until that point. You really want them to have full head control and also be tall enough so you can monitor them. So their head is roughly here, so you can keep an eye using a mirror. Something to consider, it doesn't have to be done. It's entirely your choice. So what I'm going to do now is do a little demo. So I'll grab the Zen sling, just because I like to demo with it. And then I'll grab a more bulky carrier to show differences. So this one, cross strap carrier only. Waist belts, always on your waist. Not on your hips, always on your waist. The clue is in the name. It's a waist belt. Gucci back, clip, and then pull. So you can make it tighter before you start. So we pull like that. Try to keep the clip in the middle. Give it a good pull until it is nice and snug. Should always feel comfortable. And the waist belt should be straight and parallel to the floor, not gone on an angle. So for this one, I tuck the base a bit so that my baby is well supported knee to knee. Grab a baby on your front, like that. Arms towards the face, it's the stimulation, I like it. And don't sit on top of the waist belt, sit into the panel. Because that means you can control the height and also there's no pressure on the belt. Bring the panel across. So this is called the front panel. And the top of the panel should be just under the earlobe for a newborn. As they get bigger, it can be a bit lower down when they've got really good head control. But this is when it's important to try with a newborn to see if it fits. Because if the panel is too high and the face is covered, you're risking suffocation. Okay? That's the reality. You grab a strap, flip over your shoulder, switch hands, hold baby, pull, come back, and you're gonna clip. pull forward or pull back. So that's the beauty of what we call dual adjust. You choose how you pull. And if you have mobility issues, it's very, very handy. Same on the other side. Come back. And there you go. I am done, okay? The panel is fully adjusted. I can make it as small as I need. Baby is supported from knee to knee, bum lower than the knees. The carrier is tight. Baby is close enough to kiss the top of the head so I can see the airways at all time. To feed, super handy. With the carrier, I can just loosen, whether here or pull towards my back. Breastfeeding, like this. Bottle feeding, can loosen a bit and feed like that, and you've got lots of ways to feed out. Just a more quick two options, but there's lots of ways to do it, and again, it's very personal. If you can cross strap, you can go to the hip, loosen, loosen, zoop, arm out, it will just fall off your arm, so take it off, bring that strap around your back, retighten, spread them and retighten the other side. And there you go, baby can look around a bit more, they can see, you can see them, they can nap if they want to. Again, if you're breastfeeding, you can loosen super quickly like this. Get on the breast, make sure you support baby's head. If you're bottle feeding, just make sure you've got enough space between you and baby. And if baby falls asleep, easier is just to come back into your front carry. It's a bit more comfy, and you just retighten. Taking baby out, always under your shoulder straps, not your waist belt. Hold, clip or clip. There's lots and lots of ways to put carriers on. It's about finding the technique that works best for you. And this again is something I would recommend you go do with your sling library. One more demo. I'm going to take a bulkier carrier. So this is the Omni 360. Clip, pull again, waist belt, nice in the middle, lumbar support in the middle. With straight strap, what you have is this little thing called the chest strap. And most people struggle with that. You don't have to struggle. You don't have to clip it once the baby's in it. So some people like to do that. Put the baby in and then clip and struggle. Don't do that. You can just pre-clip everything, slide your baby in. So much quicker, so much easier, and a bit safer actually. Put baby on your shoulder and just slide baby in. And again, there's lots and lots and lots of techniques. So quite a big carrier, so I'm going to really make sure the bum is lower than the knees. Baby sitting in a nice deep seat. There we go. And then I'm going to guide the slack and tighten like that. And I do that because I'm quite a small person. So if I have very bulky shoulder straps, it feels like there's a bit of a gap. The chest strap should sit somewhere between your shoulder blades. Should be quite snug. This is the only thing you need to adjust between users. That's it. Nothing else needs to be readjusted. Some carriers have got what we call headrest. You don't need to have this behind baby's head to support them, okay? Leave it down or put it inside for very small babies. As long as the panel is here, the baby's well supported and you can monitor the airways much better. Some carriers have got hoods. And this is a bit confusing, they call sleep hood, so you think, oh, I need to put that on top of my baby's head, put them to sleep. In reality, use them if you have to, but try to avoid putting it over baby's face because the airways are not clear, you can't monitor them, okay? You can use them on the back of the head, so you've got little poppers here, or you can roll, if you need extra head support, clip, or roll them inside. Just be always super careful of hoods. They are particularly handy when you start back carrying around 6 months and baby's head falls backwards, and you can use the hood to support the head. But again, airways must be clear at all time. Safety wise, for all carriers the same, and all sling. Make sure it is tight, so your baby should feel nice and close to you. One way to know, we don't do that in real life, but you hold baby's head and you lean forward. If you need to bend, you always bend with your knees, but to test, you can do that. If the baby's coming away from you, it's not tight enough. You should be able to fit just one hand flat between you and baby, and that's it. That's how tight it has to be. In view at all times, you can always see the airways and always monitor baby. Always keep an eye on your baby. Close enough to kiss the top of the head. This is so you can see the airways, but also you know it's tight enough. If the baby's too low down, it's probably not tight enough. Keep chin off chest, 2 fingers between baby's chin and chest. So make sure the head doesn't tilt forward. Baby's well supported. This, in all reality, can be a little bit challenging with the newborn and the carrier, especially a bulky carrier. So supporting head sometimes is a bit tricky, and sometimes you might want to find something like stretchy wrap or close caboo or woven wrap. Might be easier to support the head because you can put a pass against the back of the head. It's a bit softer, it's a bit nicer, so it might work a bit better. If not, you can use headrest inside, roll up a hood to just create extra head support. Supported back means as much as possible carry from knee to knee, all the way to under the earlobe for small baby, and carry upright. It's very important. So this is that we can support the airways. And that's pretty much it before I go into some crazy complicated details about buccal carriers. But really I just wanted to give you a quick overview so you can make some decisions. You can make an informed choice, before you go off and buy a carrier. My last piece of advice is that if somebody likes something or Instagram is telling you this is the best carrier, somebody's given you their old carrier, it doesn't mean it's going to work for you, okay? Make your own choices. It's mega important. Marketing plays an extremely big role into what people buy. Big brands are not necessarily the best. More expensive is not necessarily the best. And I've seen that in my 8 years as a baby wearing consultant. People often don't buy the most expensive one. So take your time. Don't rush into that. Get advice. Go to your nearest sling library. We're here to help and we love helping. And I think that's it. Thank you very much for watching this very long video. Bye bye.